Verbs are essential to sentences. They provide the driving force, the vitality, that makes a sentence come alive for readers. Selecting the right verb is among the most important tasks that you can perform as a writer. In this grammar tutorial, we'll try to make sense of how to choose the right verb to help make your sentences clear, correct, and lively. Important topics will include the simple verb tenses, active and passive voice verb constructions, and subject-verb agreement. A more comprehensive review of verbs is available in the grammar text, the Little Seagull Handbook, chapters S4 and S5. Verbs do one of two things in a sentence. They describe the action, or they link different parts of a sentence together. An action verb often appears right after the subject of the sentence. It describes what the subject is doing. In this example, the girl jumps. The subject is girl, and the verb is jumps. What does the girl do? She jumps. Some sentences lack an action verb. Instead, the verb functions as a link between two parts of the sentence, the subject and the subject complement. In this example, the runner is fast. The runner functions as the subject of the sentence. Fast functions as the subject complement. It describes or renames the subject. And is functions as the linking verb. Another important job of the verb in a sentence is to express time. This job is performed by the verb tense. The simple tenses include the past tense, the present tense, and the future tense. We use the simple present tense when we want to write about something that was true in the past, is true in the present, and will be true in the future. It expresses a general truth or fact. Water covers nearly 70% of the Earth's surface. This sentence contains a verb in the simple present tense, covers, to express a scientific fact. We use the simple present tense when we want to write about an activity that doesn't just happen once, but instead happens habitually. We use the simple present to write about everyday activities. This sentence contains a verb in the simple present tense to express a daily habit or everyday activity. Lorraine calls her mother every weeknight after work. She did it last week, she does it this week, and she will do it next week. We use the present progressive tense when we want to write about something that is in progress or happening right now. It expresses a temporary activity that started in the past, is continuing at present, and is likely to continue until sometime in the future. This sentence contains a verb in the present progressive tense to express an ongoing activity or an action that is in progress. The student is watching a tutorial on her computer screen. Some verbs don't work in the progressive tense. These are so-called non-progressive or stative verbs because they describe states of being, that is, conditions or situations, rather than actions. While these words may appear in different form in some different parts of speech, as nouns or adjectives, we avoid using them to express actions in progress. Examples include know, want, and agree. We don't say, I am knowing the answer to the question. Instead, we say, I know the answer to the question. The simple past, on the other hand, expresses a situation or an event that began and ended in the past. Adam rode the bus home from work yesterday. In this sentence, Adam began and completed an action expressed by the verb rode in the past. When we want to express that two actions happened in the past, but that one action was in progress when the other occurred, we use the past progressive. Adam was waiting for the bus when it started to rain. In this sentence, an activity was in progress, expressed by the verb was waiting, in the past, when another event took place, expressed by the verb started. When we want to express an event that will happen in the future, we place the word will, or the phrase is going to, before the verb. The mechanic will fix the car on Tuesday. In this sentence, the word will, placed before the base form of the verb fix, lets the reader know that the event will happen in the future. Without the word will, the reader can't know if the mechanic fixed the car last Tuesday, or that the mechanic will do the work next Tuesday. Whether or not the mechanic will do the job right is another matter. In addition to the simple and progressive tenses, we often need to use the present perfect tense for actions or situations that began in the past and continue up to now. Tamara has studied at Montgomery College since 2010. We know when the situation or action began, 2010, and the present perfect tense tells us that the situation is still in progress. The present perfect tense is often accompanied by the signal word since, as in the first example, or for, as in the second example. Tamara has studied at Montgomery College for 3 years. We can also use the present perfect tense for events that have, or haven't, happened before now at an unspecified time. Tamara has not completed a college degree. She plans to graduate in May of next year. We use the past perfect tense and the simple past tense in combination when two activities or events occurred in the past and one happened before the other. Note the two verbs in this example. By the time the semester ended, Binyam had completed a transfer application to the University of Maryland. In other words, Binyam had already finished filling out his transfer application by the time spring semester classes were done. The activity that happened first, or earlier in time, completion of the transfer application, gets the past perfect. The event that happened second, or later in time, the end of the spring semester, gets the simple past tense. The past perfect tense is often accompanied by the signal phrase, by the time, as in this example. Your grammar text, the Little Seagull Handbook, offers more information about verbs in Chapter S4. For information about verb forms, review pages 240 through 243. For information about mood, including the indicative and conditionals, review pages 244 through 246. Verbs can be active or passive. Active verbs tend to be more direct and easier to understand, but the passive voice can be useful when you want to emphasize the person, place, or thing that receives the action. The passive is particularly useful in scientific writing, when it's more important to highlight the results of a study, but not the researchers or those who performed the study. In active voice constructions, the subject, or agent, performs the action. Here's an example of active voice. A team of cave explorers discovered a new species of bat. Who made this discovery? A team of cave explorers. In the active voice, the verb typically follows the subject and describes the action. What did a team of cave explorers do? They discovered something. In the active voice, the person or thing that receives the action is the object, which typically follows the verb. What was discovered? A new species of bat. If we want to switch to the passive voice, we flip the receiver of the action from the object slot, after the verb, to the subject slot, typically before the verb. In this example, a new species of bat becomes the subject in the new passive voice construction. To construct a sentence in the passive voice, the verb must be changed as well. To construct a passive voice verb, add a to be verb in the appropriate tense and use the past participle form of the main verb. In this case, we want to retain the past tense. The action happened in the past. So we use the past tense of to be, or the word was. The passive voice is often a good choice for a sentence in a science paper because biologists, or readers interested in scientific studies, will be more interested in the new species of bat than they are in the cave explorers who made the discovery. Writers in the humanities, like history scholars or English students, typically favor the more direct active voice. We've talked about subjects and we've talked about verbs. Now we'll take a closer look at subject-verb agreement. What should we do with the verb in a sentence when the subject is singular? What about if it's plural? What verb do we use with first person, second person, or third person subjects? How do compound subjects, collective nouns, or indefinite pronouns, like everybody or each, and relative pronouns, like who, that, or which, affect subject-verb agreement? When you are proofreading for subject-verb agreement, be sure that the subject-verb combination agrees in number. A singular subject requires a singular verb, and a plural subject requires a plural verb, as in this example. Some people have all the luck. The subject people is plural, so the verb have must also be plural. If we replace that plural subject with a singular subject, we must also switch the verb. Hugh has all the luck. In this example, the subject Hugh is one person. This singular subject must agree with the singular verb has. Two or more subjects joined by and are generally plural and go with a plural verb. In this example, Ulysses S. Grant and Robert E. Lee are two people, a compound subject. Ulysses S. Grant and Robert E. Lee are the subjects of Bruce Caton's comparison and contrast essay. The plural verb are agrees with the plural or compound subject. On the other hand, a compound subject can sometimes go with a singular verb if the writer wants you to see the subject as a single unit, as in this example. 40 acres and a mule is what General William T. Sherman promised each freed slave. Multiple subjects joined by or nor can sometimes go with a singular verb or sometimes go with a plural verb. The subject closest to the verb is the determining factor. Either source material or your own experiences are acceptable supporting evidence for your essay. Since the plural subject your own experiences comes closest to the verb, use the plural are. Collective nouns like group, team, or class can take singular or plural verbs, depending on whether the noun refers to the group as a single unit or to the individuals that make up the group. The class follows the teacher to the library. Since the collective noun class here is taken as a single unit, we use a singular verb, follows. In this example, class refers to the individual members of the group, and for that reason, the verb is plural. The class share the results of their research with one another before the essay is due. Like other pronouns, an indefinite pronoun replaces a noun. In most cases, an indefinite pronoun as subject goes with a singular verb. This is the case with the indefinite pronouns anyone, anything, each, either, everybody, everything, neither, nobody, no one, one, somebody, someone, and something. Each of the students writes a rough draft and a final draft. Each is an indefinite pronoun and singular. For that reason, the verb writes is also singular. In some cases, however, a small subset of indefinite pronouns can be singular or plural, depending on the noun that is being replaced. All, any, enough, more, most, none, and some are singular when they refer to a singular noun, as in this example. None of the essays have been assigned for group work. In this case, none refers to the plural essays. For that reason, the verb have been assigned is also plural. Here's a case where none refers to a singular subject, an essay. None of the essay has been edited. The verb in this case is singular, has been edited, to agree with the singular subject. The relative pronouns who, that, and which take a singular verb when they come after a singular noun, as in this example. I like to work with students who do their homework. The plural subject students goes with the plural verb do. The relative pronouns take a singular verb when they come after a singular noun, as in this example. I'll work with student who sits next to me. The singular subject student goes with the singular verb sits. When proofreading and editing, it's important to check for verb tense, active or passive voice, and subject-verb agreement. Attention to details when it comes to the use of verbs and the words that accompany them in your sentences can make all the difference, as David Sedaris notes in his essay, Remembering My Childhood on the Continent of Africa. When I was 7 years old, my family moved to North Carolina. When he was 7 years old, Hugh's family moved to the Congo. We had a collie and a house cat. They had a monkey and 2 horses named Charlie Brown and Satan. I threw stones at stop signs. Hugh threw stones at crocodiles. The verbs are the same, but he definitely wins the prize when it comes to nouns and objects. Some of the examples that appear in this presentation were borrowed from the EN 101 textbook, Back to the Lake, published by Norton. Thanks for watching.